All right, thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Sammy Fabro and I work on the marketing and growth team at Event Temple. As always, we'll record and send out a recording of the webinar to all our registrants, and we will also have a Q&A at the end of the webinar with a special guest, one of our engineers joining us. So I'm really excited to start off our very first partner webinar. So one of the reasons why we wanted to start this series is because COVID has accelerated the industry's adoption from legacy systems to more of a modern integrated tech stack. And it's really important that hoteliers understand the possibilities that's within their tech stack. So today I'm joined by my boss, Event Temple CEO, Bob Graham, and the head of partnerships at Muse, Josef Lapka. So let's kick it off to our panelists. Bob, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I'm CEO and co-founder at Event Temple. We specialize in hotel sales and catering software. So that's things like event management, sales prospecting, CRM, group room blocks, and more. Prior to Event Temple, my career was in sales. And I also built and sold a national event and music management company. After that, I had the great idea, hey, I'm going to learn how to code. During that time, I met someone who is much better at coding than me, who is now my partner. And basically, we started the company because a friend of ours was managing a hotel, really struggling with legacy technology. And she actually reached out to me and said, hey, I'm using the system. I really don't like it. Would you take a look? And Event Temple was born from that. We would go see her, literally sit in her office, get feedback, show her, try it out. And today we're in hypergrowth mode with thousands of users. We're in 23 countries. So yeah, it's a little bit about us.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here this morning. And Joseph, how about you? Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Muse?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for having me today. So I'm Joseph. I'm the product director and head of partnerships at Muse. For me, I have a background in development originally, but a lot of hospitality operations background from my past experience. But I think that the one thing that comes through always is that I'm really solutions driven. Even though before joining Muse, I worked on multiple verticals, there was a definite drive to always find a solution between different systems, and integrations is one of my passions, really, and the core of my career. With regards to Muse, I must be very honest. I've been stalking Muse for about 7 years, and it took me 7 years to get into the team. So I'm really excited to be part of the product team there. And a little bit about Muse. It's a property management system, but it's mainly designed to simplify and automate all the operations of the modern hoteliers. So it's been built around the guests. So it's really guest-centric. Our vision is to enable a better experience for the guests. And to do that, we need to deliver a seamless technology that enables digitization and automation seamlessly. So that every process is just easier, faster, and more connected. And it's exciting to have an integration like Event Temple to also contribute to that passion and vision.
Yeah, no, we're very happy to be able to integrate into your system. So whether we like to admit it or not, the COVID-19 crisis has forever changed the hospitality industry. So I'd like to just kind of start back a couple, or I guess it's almost been a year now. Joseph, what was Muse's initial reaction to the pandemic?
I think very early on, I think like many of us, we in the first 2 months of 2020, we completely underestimated what was going to come. I think we all heard the news and we took it in to a degree, but no one could have predicted what was to come. We actually had our annual Muse conference. We just grew to 420 staff. Globally, we opened 9 offices. So we were really, really on a high growth, high aggressive growth path. And we celebrated our expansion into the US and so on. And basically we were convinced that, and I myself was convinced that it would just be over in a matter of months. But obviously that was a different story.
Yeah, I think the same was for us. So once you realized the pandemic wasn't going away anytime soon, how did you change your business strategy at Muse?
So I think at Muse, we are really lucky to have a decisive leadership team. By the second half of March, it was really clear that things were not going to go well for quite some time in the hospitality industry. And we took really quick action, which really was a painful time for us, I must admit. You know, we had to say goodbye to half of our workforce, either through government schemes and try to provide security for as long as possible, while establishing groups of HR teams to find jobs for people that we were no longer able to afford to keep. And actually our leadership team published a blog post about this, about exactly how much revenue impact it had. And it was so great to kind of see that transparency, because everyone was going through that similar situation. So once we made the adjustments to our budgets and our approach, we knew that things would not improve most likely until March, April in 21. So we stopped business development efforts altogether. So we didn't do cold calls. So we were very sensitive to the climate. And actually our biggest challenge straight away was enabling to run our business, having to collect payments from our customers while they were also hurting like us. So that was really the hardest part, I think, to that experience. And overall, our strategy has then shifted to more enterprise sales and enterprise approach, where we wanted to make sure that we have the right partners to be able to go after larger hotels that were still in a better financial situation.
Yeah, it definitely did highlight how agile the tech sector had to be, especially in hospitality. While every industry got hit, I mean, ours got just smoked the most. So Bob, what was your initial reaction to the pandemic?
Yeah, so I think when it first hit, my thoughts were around health and safety and well-being. It was definitely a scary thing. You hear the word even pandemic, and I thought, sounds like a movie I've seen on Netflix. So once that was over, you know, I think we thought about the future, but it was really uncertain all of a sudden, right? So all of your planning and forecasting basically goes out the window. We don't know when a vaccine is coming out. We don't know how long. We have some ideas, but we can't really say. So for me at the business, it was really a mix of focusing on the current plan and the current opportunities and thinking about the long term, which sounds really easy to do, but it actually changed everything. So for example, like every day almost, we're asking ourselves, what does the future of hospitality look like? And where do we want to stand? Because when there's that much uncertainty, we felt we had to take a stand in a certain direction and pivot the business accordingly a little bit. So it was just a time of like, oh, what's going to happen and what's going to change when. There's obviously no groups and events. A lot of the stuff Joseph said too, of like, you know, you're looking after your team and you're thinking about the industry and you're talking to hoteliers, but I think that uncertainty piece was like across the board for everyone.
Definitely. And I mean, well, it shook us all up. It also brought us closer. We had a lot more connection with our customers and just kind of came from a place of support during that first wave. Yeah. So let's jump into our partnership philosophies. So Joseph, what does partnership and collaboration in the hospitality landscape mean to you? And how does Muse decide who to partner with and who to build to?
First of all, I must say I love partnerships. It's one of the main reasons why I'm in the hospitality tech sector, because the amount of collaboration that's possible is absolutely endless. And I just love meeting up with everyone when we can, whether it's virtually or in reality. And it just makes a whole difference to be able to create a real long-lasting collaboration. At Muse, we consider ourselves as one of the most open and extensible property management software in the market because of the partnerships that we were able to forge. So we now have over 450 integrations, and it ranges from access systems to POS to distribution, facility management, Internet of Things, you know, how to control your lights and your thermostats. And we form the center of the hotel's operations, and we need to do this really seamlessly, so it's not difficult for hoteliers to handle that kind of vast technology stack that they need to support. And while we have really quite a large number of partners, I must say, and there are direct and close relationships, one of the best thing about it is that we can have really close relationship with a few. Obviously, we are not able to kind of have calls with all 450 on a regular basis, but the relationship we have with Event Temple, for example, is just so important. We just see technology as a facilitator, but relationships are the real differentiator in this. So, like, our hotels are using Muse technology to facilitate a closer relationship with their guests and be able to deliver a great hospitality experience. We are able to use our API to forge really long-lasting partnerships with our integration partners. And with direct reference to Event Temple, we are just closer than, I would say, most departments within the same company. We talk on a regular basis. We had brainstorming sessions of how we can facilitate our API better and make actually improvements to our API that Event Temple immediately took on, so we can build a really amazing tech stack. And the great thing about it is, because it's not just one company, there is no politics, there's no personal ambitions to jump from one department to another. It's just a really nice, close collaboration.
Yeah, definitely. And Bob, what is Event Temple's approach to partnerships and collaboration?
Yeah, so partnerships really make business human. I mean, we like playing as a team and winning together. I think that's been our culture the whole time. Our core, maybe it's helpful to talk about our core purpose a bit. It's really, when you start the business, why do you do it? We really love the idea of empowering people to succeed, but we want to empower people of great character to succeed so they can make a difference. So we definitely want to work with people we like that are making a positive change. To us, that can be our customers, that can be our team members, but it can also be software vendor relationships like Muse. And I think, when times get tough, character is revealed and you really see who's authentic, real, and helpful. And that's when we started the partnership with Muse. Really was a little bit before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, I'd say we've doubled down and spoken a lot more, just because we've seen how they are and who they are during this, which is a big deal for us. For us with integration partnerships, just the nature of a PMS integration with sales and catering, we don't go and build hundreds of integrations. I think Muse's marketplace is quite different in that there's all these different software programs that plug in. It makes a lot of sense for them. But for us, when we connect to a PMS, it takes 6 to 12 months or more on each one to do it properly. And so we go really narrow and deep whenever we choose a partner on this. We want live data connectivity. We want a single system. And it needs to be a seamless integration that feels like, oh, I'm really using one program, not jumping back and forth between two. It's actually really hard to do. And we need the partner to be open to doing that as much as we are. And we found that's actually quite rare in hospitality for a PMS partner of size to be willing to spend the time. And so it's been amazing working with Muse, because I would say that Joseph's compliment to us of developing has been right back to their team. We've asked for something, right away it's back. And that's what we feel we need to even pull it off. And they've gone above and beyond. So I'd say we've done more than pull it off. We've developed something that we're both really proud of. And we'll continue developing it basically forever. Like it's like any feature. You get feedback, you keep making it better. So it's been great.
Yeah, and I definitely see, once you've realized you have similar philosophies and similar goals, the partnership kind of starts as a bit of a courtship. So I'd love to hear the Muse and Event Temple love story. Bob,
Sure.
you want to tell us how it happened?
Yeah, so I think for a long time, before getting to know Muse, I could tell they wanted to do things quite differently. It shows in the marketing. Muse isn't your typical company by any means. And then as the years went on, I met their team at High Tech in North America. I met them at WTM. And I was impressed at how they think outside the box, because even the booth, the way they have the team at the show, it's just right away they stand out. And as I got to know the tech, it was clear to me that they wanted to do things differently. They want to challenge the status quo. And it's really disrupting legacy technology, which isn't about naming a specific competitor. It's about saying like, hey, the old way is just not going to work anymore, and there's a better way, and we're going to build that. And I noticed that the hotels too that were joining Muse, as I get to know them, they thought the same way. They were looking to do things a little bit differently, build the future, not the past. So when I saw those two things, I really wanted to come together and do something with Muse, because we're heading in the same direction. So we've doubled down on a few key pillars with them too. So I saw that they really care about service. They'd won some awards for it and some certifications on Hotel Tech Report. I actually knew some of their service team members already. They've got great ease of use. People compliment them on that, and integrations. And we have 4 key pillars, and I just listed 3 of them. So it was pretty, it just made a lot of sense that we would get to know each other better. And then from the founders, I get to know Richard, get to know Greg, right down to the team members who are handling support with our customers. I've been impressed. So it just made sense.
And then Joseph, when did you enter into the story?
I must admit, I was a little bit late to the party. So I, as part of the changes at the company following April, I kind of took over the partnership aspects, and basically I immediately saw the potential with Event Temple, similar traits that Bob was already talking about. I knew that this was going to be a close and really successful partnership. As I mentioned before, we sat down, we brainstormed, we listened to feedback, but most importantly, the Event Temple team listened to our feedback as well, and just made changes in such a amazingly quick turnaround, which made it really, really interesting and fun to work on. I think the key is that Muse does not have a SNC module. We don't have any ambitions to build a SNC module. It's not something we are focusing on, or that is our strength. So we concentrate on enabling our partners that can provide this service in a much, much better way, like Event Temple does, through the API. And so that's where we put our focus into. So it's really not that we want to deliver every possible feature for everyone, but just we really want to deliver a solid, centralized hospitality operations platform that can be extended through these strong partnerships rather than additional product modules.
Definitely, and I think that philosophy is what differentiates us from the legacy systems that we're trying to replace in hospitality. So now we'll jump into a little video. This is my first time sharing a video, so bear with me while I get it set up. And it'll be going through the, let me just make sure. The Muse integration. Until Jan. We're going to demonstrate the Event Temple and Muse integration, specifically by showing how to create or block out spaces in Muse from Event Temple, and how to send banquet charges on your bookings in Event Temple to Muse so you can do all your invoicing from your PMS. Let's start by creating a booking in Event Temple, which is where the Muse reservation will live. We'll create a new booking by adding a contact. So let's say we have Luigi Mario, a regular at our property. Luigi's planning a group trip to our hotel from January 25th until January 29th. And for the purpose of this demonstration, that's all the information that Event Temple needs to know. Next, we'll go into the new booking. And while there are a ton of other features within Event Temple, we're going to take a dive into the Reservations tab. This is where the Muse magic happens, and where we can control the reservations by adding or linking any existing reservations to this booking. There are a few ways that you can connect a customer profile to the booking. So one, you can search Muse to see if it has an existing profile. You can create a new contact or customer profile, or you can match the contact and booking to an existing profile. Please note that you do need to know their email to be able to use this feature. From there, we can start to build out the reservation. So we can select the booking status. We're able to select the booking release date. We can put in the group name. Let's call this one November 17th, test group 10. We're able to decide if we want to send a confirmation email or not, the business segment the booking belongs to, as well as the rate that we want to charge. This one is a custom rate that we typically use in our demos. Next up, the spaces. So we're able to add multiple spaces to one booking with this integration. We can also see the individual room capacity, the number of spaces available within that room type, as well as the space rate. We're also able to override the rate if we decide to give Luigi a deal. Now, when we look at this reservation, we can see we're blocking a total of 6 spaces, or in other words, creating 6 Muse reservations. Once we create the booking, we can see a summary of all the reservations that will be created in Muse. We're able to see the space category. We can see the dates. We can see the customer, as well as the status. We're also able to perform action on these fields within Event Temple, but let's take a look at what everything looks like in Muse first. By clicking this drop-down button, we can see the actions that we can perform on our reservations, including seeing the reservation in the PMS. When we click it, we're immediately taken to a new tab within our Muse system. All of these reservations have the booking details that we entered in Event Temple, including the to be confirmed status based on our selection of the optional booking status in Event Temple. So let's confirm a couple of these and see how Event Temple picks up these changes. When we're back in the Event Temple tab, we can still see that the booking status says optional. So there are 2 things that we can do to update this. Number 1 is nothing. Every 15 minutes, Event Temple will refresh all its data from Muse and automatically update any changes that have been made. Or we can manually press the sync button and those changes will be made immediately. So now we can see 2 of these reservations are confirmed. Let's take a look at what it looks like to make a change in Event Temple and see how it's reflected in the PMS. So we'll make a date change to this reservation. We'll change the departure date to January 30th and the arrival date to January 24th. So now we can see those changes reflected in the reservation and we can push it over to Muse. So what does this look like? Let's check it out. So now when we look at this reservation, we see we have 2 confirmed reservations and 1 with extended dates. And as expected, these 2 are separated from the rest of the optional reservations. So that covers the basic with groups and reservations and how Event Temple and Muse communicate that information to each other. Now let's look at how we can post charges from Event Temple into Muse. So we need to start by adding a couple of our banquet menu items to this booking. We'll choose a few random ones and save them. So right away, we're able to see that these charges have not been posted to our PMS. So there are a few ways that we're able to send these over. We can select all of the menu items to send, or we can choose specific items that we want to send over. We'll send them all over right now. Next, we need to select the customer profile we want to post the charges to. In this hypothetical land, Luigi Mario is a very popular name. So we'll choose the first one. And then we'll choose the service we want these menu items to go to. In this case, it's banqueting. And then we'll go and create the order. So now we can see these items have been posted to Muse. And we can see that the order is attached to a customer profile in Muse. When we're in Muse, we're able to see all the invoice details and you're able to do your invoicing based on your normal workflow. So now you've seen the Muse and Event Temple integration, an integration designed to streamline your sales and event management process while minimizing the risk of errors so you can spend more time with what matters most, your guests. All right, perfect. So let's start with talking about the integration. So do you want to tell me how customers are leveraging this integration right now, Joseph?
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, in Muse, we don't have the S&C module, and basically what we want to be able to do is deliver a seamless experience for the hotelier in this instance. So they can use the power of Event Temple to manage groups and S&C, build up all of their different contracts, their profiles, their reservations, their blocks within Event Temple, and seamlessly push them into Muse. So you have a real connect, not just between the two systems, but between potentially two departments at the hotel. So that means that the sales and catering department is now directly connected through two systems seamlessly with the front desk, and they can see absolutely everything that's in there. So that's really the core of it, and it being invisible, where things just happen, as you could see in this short demo really well. It's what really makes me passionate about integrations, this kind of stuff. And you suddenly don't have just one company where you have to rely on their roadmap to develop, but you have two really agile, innovative, fast tech companies delivering what they're really good at, and concentrating on the parts of the systems that they're good at. And as the video showed, a really, really slick integration.
Awesome. And Bob, what does this integration mean for the industry?
Yeah, so I think first off, our customers and prospects were really excited for the integration. It's what they were asking for. It allows users to sync reservations in the PMS, bookings in Event Temple. Basically, it's a way to manage groups seamlessly, so you're never having to jump back and forth, right? Group sales is in Event Temple working. They have access to everything in Muse. Front desk team is working in Muse. They have access to everything coming through from group sales. And the integration was designed with that user experience in the forefront to make it easy and fast. So we looked at how do we do this in the minimum number of clicks, no double data entry, no unnecessary toggling. And I think those were the hardest challenges to really get that right without losing the functionality. So I think you saw some of the places you can check boxes still, decide what syncs where. Putting those two together is incredibly hard. So I'm really proud of it too, Joseph. And I think, our teams have done a great job, so I can't take the credit. Teams on both sides have done this in an amazing way. For the industry, I think it just goes to show in the past, if you wanted this type of connectivity, you really had to go with an all-in-one. But when you have an all-in-one, it's really hard to update 10 million lines of code because there's 10 million lines of code. And that's why the systems don't change a lot. There's different teams, often in different countries, working on these different products. And even when you see an all-in-one from one of our legacy competitors, it's not really one company. It's a bunch of purchased companies kind of put together. Where I've been, really surprised and impressed is with Muse, I think we're able to offer that same functionality, completely different companies, but the workflow is the same. And then you get the benefit of us both focusing on what we're great at and iteratively building that and improving. And I think, definitely believe in the power of focus. You do a few things well, you're going to be the best in the world at it. You do everything okay, it's not the same. So just showing that you can do it. And I think seeing is believing, watching that integration video, this isn't something that really existed in the mainstream before, where a PMS and sales and catering would have this level of two-way integration. I mean, so like I said earlier, when we do something like this, we want to be very proud of it. And we only do a few because it takes us 6 to 12 months each one, and then we never stop working on it. I think you're on mute, Sammy.
I just saw that. What is this, my first webinar? So how has it been received by the customers that are using the integration? Bob, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, so, it was put out during the pandemic, basically going public with it. So obviously we're dealing with some hotels having less staff, which you would think means, oh, it's not going to be really tested. But actually those people that are using both systems, because they have less team members helping them, it's like go time for them. They're very, very busy. They don't have a lot of time to dig into how does this work? How does that work? So I felt it was the ultimate test for the integration for them right now. And we've seen some really good results. I mean, we've gotten some feedback, like Joseph said, especially early on, but watching both teams say, okay, that makes sense, and go and update it. Like in some cases, I think it was a week later. That was amazing to be able to go to say to the customer, hey, remember that integration you tried? Well, the feedback you give us is already in it. So I think that speed of development is one game changer. And then the other piece is, it actually worked. The goal was, it was like, in your legacy system, if you took that out and put it in Muse and Event Temple, would it work the same way? Would it accomplish the same goals and give you more from the systems? And the answer was a clear yes. And I think both us and Muse were really, like, we really needed that to be true, not just something we'd say. We had to prove it and look at it. And we were both very stringent on that goal. Like, it can't just be good, it's got to be great. And all these promises we have to deliver, because we found a lot of companies in the industry weren't delivering deep integrations. And so we pushed it really hard. And that's why I'm proud to say, like, it works just like we intended. And I think mission accomplished. And now we'll just keep making it better and better. I mean, it's never done.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask if you had anything to add.
Yeah, so I think what Bob said is absolutely correct, and what it means for our customers and our mutual customers, it means that they now have two companies that deliver changes on a weekly basis, with no installations needed. It just happens, and the upgrade happens. For me, certainly more than once a week. We push new enhancements through. I know Event Temple does as well, and there is really nothing that the hotels have to do with this anymore. And there's no upgrade costs. There's no integration blockers. That's often the kind of fear, I think, because that's the standard in our industry, that everything has a price. Just because it's really valuable doesn't mean that part needs to be priced. So we believe in a really open and free use of the integrations. So, there's no integration maintenance fees and integration installation fees in terms of the connection at all. And it's really like having another module in Muse, working with Event Temple, and I'm sure vice versa. Event Temple customers can now make full use of Muse PMS if they wanted to use a new PMS. So that kind of collaboration makes it all possible, really.
Awesome. So we'll jump into the Q&A portion of the webinar. So if any participants have any questions, feel free to fill out the chat box or the Q&A. While we wait for some questions to go in, I actually had one for Joseph. So Muse just did an exciting announcement around their rebrand. Can you tell us a little bit more about that rebrand and what it means for the future of Muse?
Yeah, I think what we wanted to do is, during this year of pretty much gloom for our industry, we wanted to bring some positive news to everyone. And we planned this rebrand for a long time. And there were lots of discussions of whether it needs to stop and whether we need to kind of postpone it because of all the impacts that we've had as a company. But we wanted to take a stand, and we wanted to make sure that Muse can take and grow into the next chapter. And this is what it's all about. It's about making sure that our customers and future customers know that we are there to make the experiences remarkable for their guests. This is our total vision of creating such a seamless software that you can bring back hospitality into hospitality rather than searching through the different screens that you have from an operation perspective, searching for the guests, running off with their passport to take a photocopy, the queues at receptions, the phone calls between departments for sales and catering and group bookings, and all of that needs to go. And this is what we wanted to make kind of really visible with the rebrand, that we want to push into the next century even, and kind of bring everyone with us. And we decided to continue on this rebrand because we believe that our industry that we love so much needed some good news as well.
Awesome. Well, it looks amazing. So everyone will notice we now have Cam with us. So Cam is one of our engineers from Event Temple and an integration specialist who actually built a lot of this integration. So he will help with any of the technical questions that might come up. We do have a few that have come through the chat box. So question number 1, is Event Temple able to help with groups and rooms holding? For example, if we want to allocate a certain number of rooms for a group in the future and release last minute.
All right, I can take that. So Event Temple on its own currently does have group functionality. So you can block out a collection of rooms. You can start building proposals using that collection of rooms as well. And then you can even specify the pickups. Currently, when it comes to our Muse integration, you block out rooms by creating a collection of reservations, which I think we've shown in the demo so far. So it's a little bit different, and the way that those two sync up is still kind of in progress as Muse builds out its group functionality.
Perfect. And then we have another one. So how does the integration work in terms of payments? Will you be able to post on one software and will it be reflected in the other?
So at the moment, payments are still a work in progress. You probably saw that you could post charges from one system to the other, but if the payment is made in one system, that's currently not connected or linked to the other. That's still a work in progress.
Perfect. And then that is it for the questions. So why don't we jump into our last thoughts? And then, oh, someone else just threw one in. I will go in there. How does Event Temple affect Muse's revenue and availability while rooms are awaiting confirmation? So do the rooms get blocked on the Muse timeline?
Great question. So anything created in Event Temple from a reservation point of view blocks out the same inventory in Muse. You will see it on the timeline. If it's optional, I believe it actually has like dashed lines to kind of indicate that status. So you do have that same impact on availability. And then you can even confirm those blocks directly in Muse and see those changes back in Event Temple.
And then someone just wanted to clarify, can you hold the rooms provisionally in Muse?
Just maybe, could you kind of explain what you mean by provisionally for me?
Yeah. Vicky, do you want to clarify what you mean by provisionally? That word's hard for me. It's early. While we wait for a little bit more clarification, why don't we talk about, oh, there's more there. Oh, if it's not
yeah, so
stage.
Yeah, and we actually do have word for word inquiry stage as well when you're blocking those spaces in Muse. So that's absolutely true.
And then someone wants to know modifications of orders that happen after you post charges from Event Temple to Muse. So if you, for example, post a charge of $100 and want to modify it, are you able to do that?
So you can't modify it in Event Temple. So after a charge has been posted from Event Temple to Muse, we actually lock that charge because it's meant to be that it's consumed at that point. So we don't want any changes in our system. In Muse, I don't think you can actually modify an order that's been created. Joseph, correct me if I'm wrong. These show up when you're about to bill and generate an invoice. I don't think we can actually make those. I don't think you can actually modify those in Muse after the fact.
I must say I would need to double check. I believe until the bill is closed that you can send modifications to orders.
Then perfect. Okay. So it's important to note that if modifications are made to open bills in Muse that have been pushed there from Event Temple, those won't get picked up back by Event Temple. So we do suggest that you make everything final in Event Temple and then push it off to Muse when it's ready to be actually invoiced and it's really representing what was charged, especially because that will make sure that your reporting is accurate in both systems.
Perfect. Any more questions before we head into the last thoughts? I'll give everyone just a minute or two to type. All right, that seems to be the majority of the questions. So when let's jump into last thoughts. Thank you, Cam, for being here. And if anyone has any other questions or wants to see a demo of either product, we will have links in the email that go out, and you can get more in depth in the integration on that call with either a Muse or an Event Temple rep. Perfect. So Joseph and Bob, let's have some final thoughts. So what kind of are you seeing in the future of integrations and partnerships right now? Bob, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so I think the future is going to belong to hotels that sell proactively. So I've been posting a lot about prospecting on LinkedIn over the last few months, just because I think there's going to be a lot more supply than demand coming out of COVID. You know, especially for business travel, I think there's going to be more hotels competing for those customers and guests. I also have noticed that prospecting is a bit of a lost art. And it's quite misinterpreted. People hear that word often and they think, oh, I don't want to cold call and disrupt people. But I think there's going to be a bit of a change in how we think about building relationships with potential customers before they ever set foot in the hotel. And I think there's a number of ways to do that we're going to see start to evolve. So one is just understanding your community influencers. You know, others are the different channels your guests want to be communicated with. You should really be an expert about your community. The specific area within your community. So I think hoteliers are going to think a lot about how to build those relationships at scale ahead of time. I do think there's going to be a massive mindset shift from fishing to hunting for business. I think we had it pretty good for a long time. You know, OTA business comes in, okay, welcome, move on. Or inbound leads came in. I think that's going to change. And what I'm hoping, and I think would be really great for our industry, is if hotels started to adopt some of the sales techniques used by tech companies and software companies. I also think hotels can learn some of the business models. If you look at the world today, look at the S&P 500, the biggest companies in the world are tech companies. And there's no reason that hotels can't rethink their revenue streams, rethink their spaces. And as a result, I think we're going to see some very successful hotels, hotel brands. And then also, you know, groups that don't keep up with innovation, I think we're going to see them lag behind a little bit. So I think, you know, it's a really tough time, but coming out of it is going to be a really big opportunity for the next chapter. You know, I don't know if there's going to be a new normal per se, but I definitely think I would think of it as like the next chapter of the hotel industry, where there's going to be a lot of change. And if you can be part of that, I think there's a ton of opportunity.
Awesome. And Joseph, what is your one big bold prediction regarding the hospitality industry and tech overall?
I think what we've seen this year, I think we are in a really fast changing time for our industry. Changes that usually took years to be implemented are now done within weeks due to new regulations and guidelines set by governments, and hotels had to adapt and find ways of finding the right software and processes in order to do that. I'm hoping, and I really want this to happen, that our industry will continue at that pace of change. And with that, to deliver an operational flexibility like never before. So not only I can see the acceleration of the consultative tech stack approach, so you kind of choose your group of technology partners, where not all of your modules sit in one platform, basically. But I also think that this new technology will allow hoteliers to really embrace new verticals where they can reuse existing resources in different ways. And this is what we've been trying to do at Muse over the last year. Initially, when we go back to your first question, we also kind of panicked and thought, do we need to go into other verticals so our business survives? But then we decided that actually it's so important to provide different vertical opportunities for our customers. And we want to be able to allow our customers to look at resources in different ways, as for example, rooms to be changed into meeting rooms when necessary, utilizing parking spaces that they have for locals, which is really difficult to do if you're managing it through a spreadsheet. Opening up spaces for work meetings, like this remote working. There's so many people that just need to get out for at least one day, and to manage that ad hoc, it's really difficult. I think the opportunities are endless, and like Bob said, there is also a level of prospecting that will need to change, and not only for groups and corporate business, but local business and different types of verticals that the hotels can now address because of the flexibility that new technology can bring to them.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for your time this morning and afternoon. And thank you for everyone who has signed on today. As I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, we will send out a recording, including links so you can book a demo with either Muse or Event Temple. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me with that email. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye.
Thank you.